Guess who's back? Back again. Haley's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know I haven't been here for a few weeks. A lot's happened. I've had work issues, I've had going to auditions. Someone hit my car, which I'm not very happy about, but I won't go into that now. Maybe that'll be another story time. In this one, I did want to film this before Halloween. Things didn't work out, so I'm filming it now. This is going to be my part 3, like my final bit of what happened in my last house regarding like paranormal and ghosties and all of that stuff. If you want to watch part 1 and part 2 of those, then I shall leave the links below in the description for you. Okay, let's get started. So first off, me, my sister and my mum all moved into a really nice house. Going in just to have a look around like the first time we got it, we were walking around and we were like, oh my god, what awful wallpaper. So we started to pull off the wallpaper. Underneath the wallpaper there were it was like scripture written on the walls. So it was like lines out of the Bible and things to do with like heaven and hell and sins and demons and all of that kind of stuff. I wish now that I'd actually taken pictures, because that would have been like nice to look back on, I suppose. It was really weird because, you know, sometimes when you get a feeling when you walk into a place, well, it didn't really have like a bad feeling or like a ghost feeling or whatever. Sometimes I don't think you even have to believe in it, but you go some places and it's just like you get that kind of like little feeling like, oh, I feel like uncomfortable here, or I feel like I'm intruding. And there wasn't any of that. After probably the first few weeks of being there, we had a new kitchen put in, and it had, you know, like the fancy, you push it and then it shuts slowly. And we went out one day, all of us, came back, and every single thing was open in the kitchen. Every drawer, every cupboard, the fridge, the freezer, everything was open. The door on the microwave. Then we used to keep on seeing something like walk through the hallway. Obviously, you know, we made sure that it wasn't one of us. My mum saw something one night and she thought it was me coming out in like a big fluffy pink thing. And I was like, I don't even own anything big, pink and fluffy. That used to kind of like just walk around the kitchen and walk through our front hallway. There was another occasion when we were all sat down watching something on TV. I went out to get a drink into the kitchen and I heard this laugh. It was like a really high-pitched giggle. It was kind of like, hee. And I kind of like looked, and then I went to like open my mouth to shout to my mum and my sister to say, what are you laughing at? And as I like took the breath in to speak, I heard my mum shout, what are you laughing about in there? None of us laughed. We all heard the sound like at the same time, but I thought it was coming from the living room. They thought it was coming from the kitchen, and no one did it. So explain that to me. My sister had been ill. She went and got in bed with mum in the afternoon. I'd come back from college, made myself a sandwich, sat down, turned on the TV. I heard what sounded just like my mum and my sister talking like gobbledygook. Sim language, that's what it sounded like. I was watching TV and their bedroom was like just off to the side of the living room. I was sat watching TV and I can hear them going, it's getting louder and louder and louder. So I'm turning up the TV, defiant teenager, and I'm like, oh, what are they doing in there? Turning up the TV a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. It got to the point, I didn't think about it at the time, but it was just kind of like, it was louder than the television, and I had the television turned up like full volume. It was hurting my ears, that's how loud it was, and I could still hear this talking over the top. So I stood up and I was like, will you shut up? My mum opens the bedroom door, comes running out, shouts at me to turn down the television because it's way too loud. And she's like, what the hell are you talking about? We've been asleep in there for like the past hour. And then I was like,
No, you haven't. You've been in there talking gobbledygook, blah, 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 blah.
and she was like, no, we haven't. We haven't heard anything. We didn't even hear you come back in. At that point, I was a little bit like, something's going on here. Now, my room was at the back of the house, and my room had been added on, like, as an extension a little bit later, along with, like, the back half of the kitchen. It had, like, a tiny little garden, and my house was near the back of the garden. Sometimes when I would get home from college, I would go through the front door, no one would be in the house. So I'd go through the front door, and I would hear talking coming from my room. Sometimes it was a man and a woman, sometimes it was two men. You could never understand what they were saying. Again, it was like the gobbledygook. I thought that was really, like, I thought on several occasions that I'd left a TV on in my room, that I'd left a DVD going, that somehow something had turned on. Even said one day, I was like, I'm going to call the police! Like, stood with my hand on my door, like shouting at these people, and you can still hear them talking. So I bang open the door, and there was nothing. And yeah, so that would go on. That was like a near enough every other day. For all the lighting changes, by the way, it's absolutely rubbish outside. I'm filming this in the afternoon, and it's like 6 o'clock at night. That was like a regular occurrence in our house, to hear noises, people talking that wasn't actually there or weren't actually there, and it just went on like that for a bit. We used to have a big leather sofa and a leather chair. On occasions it would be like you would be sat there on your own, and then all of a sudden it would be like someone came and sat on the sofa next to you. Like, you could hear the leather going down, you could see the couch like kind of sink a little bit, and there would be handprints left like on the side of the sofa, which was really a little bit unnerving at times. And we also used to have a little tiny bit that was in our living room, but it had glass windows across and a little glass door, and that's where we kept like DVDs, the computer went in there, electrical things, just things like that, a little like add-on room. You would be sat there on many occasions and think that there was someone stood the other side of the door, like in that room, and there would be no one else there. Another thing that you used to get with that actually was smells. There wasn't ever a particularly like bad, horrible smell, but there were like 3 that I can remember that you would walk into the house and definitely like be able to pinpoint. One was roses, one it smelled like baby sick, and then the other one was smelt like you know the sachets of porridge that you get that are golden syrup flavoured, all at different times obviously. Other activity that happened most often was in the bathroom. When you used to go in there to like take a shower, brush your teeth, that kind of thing, without doubt, nearly every single time, the lights would flicker, they would go out, and when the lights turned back on or you open the door, it would be like you'd have marks down your forehead, like you'd scratched yourself with your nail. There'd been occasions when I'd had scratches on my back, on my legs, on my arms, on my face. My mum had marks on her face and on her back when she used to get in the shower. My sister had the same. Anyone who stayed there did not like going to the bathroom. It got to the point that I had some friends staying over. I think there were 4 of us all together at one point, and it got to the stage when my friend went in there, the lights went out, she found a scratch on her face, and then for the rest of the weekend that she stayed there, she would ask me to stand by the side of the toilet door with it slightly propped open. So it wasn't just me that experienced things like this, and you know, that kind of thing can get really scary, the thought of there is actually something in there with you. For that to happen like nearly every single time, it's got to be more than a coincidence, you know what I mean? Another thing that used to happen would be all of the light bulbs were changed on a very regular basis. I would say we would go through, the light bulbs would blow about every 1 or 2 weeks. The brand new bulbs as well, so that would be near enough in every single room. That was the first and the last weekend that I had people over because my friends like basically refused to stay in my house. Excited, we were having a laugh, having a giggle, we were watching films, we were eating, you know, normal stuff. We all got out all of our duvets and pillows and things, and we made like a giant bed in the middle of the living room floor so we could watch the TV like late into the night. When that was all finished and we turned off the television and laid down and go to sleep, we were all like chatting and going, and then all of a sudden one of my friends leapt up out of the bed, banged the light on and was like, "Which one of you was it?" And we all kind of like looked at her and was like, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about." Like, but she was like, "Someone has literally just breathed into my ear like heaved like a heavy moan into my ear." No one of us did it. So she really wasn't happy that night. I don't think she slept at all. And the next night, that friend actually went home. There was only 2 of us staying, so we thought we'll just go top to tail in my room. And my sister at the time was the average annoying little sister who wanted to come in with us, be with us, hang out with us, and obviously we were too cool to hang around with the little kids. She kept on banging on the door. She kept on trying to come in. She was like pushing notes underneath the door to say like, "I'll hate you forever if you don't let me in and let me play with you and your friends," and things like that. So we were like, "Oh my god, like go away." So we shut the door. We were in my room probably for a few hours messing around. Then there was scratching at my door, like low to the floor, and the door handle wobbled, and then there was more scratching, and I thought it was my sister come back up the corridor, and she was like trying to like shove another thing underneath my door. So I was like, "Go away!" So I banged on the door, and the scratching continued at the bottom of the door. So I put my hand on the door, I opened the door, still hearing this scratching, opened the door, looked down at the floor, and there was no one there. Went into the kitchen to say to Mum, "Can you tell Emily to leave us alone?" And then my mum informed me that Emily had gotten upset, so she'd rang Emily's friend to see if she could go around and play with her. So my sister actually wasn't there for at least 2 to 3 hours while we were messing around in the bedroom. So if you think about things like that, then yeah, I think it was building up to something. That's what I get the feeling of. I think if we'd have stayed in that house any longer, then there would have been some serious stuff going down. Another occasion that I really didn't like was that things were always happening in my room. I mean, me and my mum would be sat on my bed. I had a silver TV that had an aerial on top of it, like attached to the TV, and me and my mum was sat on my bed chatting one day, and all of a sudden the aerial pinged, like someone grabbed hold of it and then let it go, and then a book fell off from the opposite end of my cabinet, and my mum kind of looked at me and I looked at her, and we sort of went, okay, let's go and get a cup of tea in the kitchen and leave whatever is in here like alone. There was one night in particular that I went to bed, everything was normal, and I shut off all my lights, closed my door, sat in the bed to go to sleep, and as I closed my eyes, I started hearing what sounded to me like plastic bags crackling. And I remember just like looking off to one side thinking, I don't have any plastic bags in here at all. It was definitely coming from my room. And I remember trying to sit up And when I tried to sit up, it was like I was stuck in the bed. Like I was stuck and sinking slowly into my mattress. And I couldn't put my head up, I couldn't move my legs, I couldn't move my arms, and that was really scary. I shouted as loud as I could for my mum. She came rushing down the hallway, opened the door. The minute that she opened the door, the sound stopped and I could sit up. And I know some people say probably that that's sleep paralysis, but I wasn't asleep. I was 100% awake. And then for about a week after that, I didn't sleep in my room. I dragged my mattress off of my bed down and put it on the floor in my mum's room. And my sister went in there as well, and we all slept in the same bedroom because we got a bit freaked out by that. My sister's room was just off of mine. As you open the door to the left hand side, there was a little room on the side, and she didn't really spend much time in there at all. She just said, I don't like it in there. But there was one occasion when I heard what sounded like my sister whispering and crying, like upset, like she was on the phone to someone. That's what it sounded like. My sister was quite young at the time still. But I remember opening the door to my room and the hallway light was off and her bedroom light was off. So I kind of just poked my head round the corner and saw what I thought was my sister, dead in bed with the duvet, crept out down the hallway and said to Mum, Mum, I don't know if Emily's on the phone or not, but she sounds like really upset. With that then, I hear the flush go and my sister comes out of the toilet. I turned around and I asked her, have you just come out of your bedroom? And she was like, no, I've been staying in with Mum, I haven't been in my room. Kind of like, I felt sick. I thought, oh, I've actually sat and stared at someone for a good minute that I thought was my sister, and she took no notice of me, and now I know why, because it wasn't even her. So anyway, that was a few, and just a few. I've tried to like whittle it down to like main events, but yeah, all of those things were very, very regular, and they just carried on and on and on until the day that we moved out. So anyway, that was just a few of the bulk of the things that were happening. I have many more tales to tell, so if you want more, let me know by liking this video, give it a thumbs up, by commenting, subscribing. If you guys have any other video suggestions that you do want me to do, any other story times, things like that, then let me know in the comments. I will try and complete those things. Other than that, I hope you're having a lovely day, evening, afternoon, night time, whatever time you're watching this. And thank you so much for watching if you have made it to the end, if I'm not too boring. I hope it wasn't. I'll see you all again soon with something else entirely different. Thank you and good night.